Hello Gravelers, I am doing an impromptu video here in my garage. I want to talk about two key upgrades for the Poseidon Redwood. One I would consider discretionary and one I would consider a must. And right now I'm in the middle of doing the must, and that is replacing part of the brake cable with taking the stock cable section off and replacing it with a compressionless cable. And if you don't know, the compressionless cable, although it looks the same as the stock one and as a regular brake cable housing, compressionless, I'm not sure exactly what happens inside, but the bottom line is it's designed to greatly, or to hopefully enhance braking power. And I just completed this service on my Poseidon Redwood, and now I'm doing Diana's. So I thought I'd just grab the camera mid-repair because it works. I basically just did the rear brake on the Redwood, and on my Redwood, and my test for braking power is, can I lock up the rear tire? And with the stock setup, no matter how much I've adjusted the Tektro calipers, I could not lock up the rear tire. And having just replaced the cable on mine with the compressionless housing, I can lock up the cable, or sorry, I can lock up the tire from a very low speed, so I'm super stoked about that. You know, it really is a pretty simple thing. It took me about 10 minutes. You need a couple things. You need a replacement inner cable because you're likely going to partially unwind or have to cut the cable end off of your stock brake cable. And then this is the stuff that I bought, Jagwire compressionless housing. It doesn't come in like small quantities, so I got a massive roll, enough to do both of these bikes. Front and rear brakes. For now, I'm just going to do the rear brake because, you know, the front brake has plenty of power. Don't know that I'd ever want to lock that up. And we'll see how it goes, and if ultimately it feels unbalanced, or if I feel like we want some more braking power, we will, I'll go ahead and do the front as well. The kit comes with two styles of cable ends. One that has a little, sort of a narrow cable feed. That's going to go It's going to go where the inline barrel adjuster is. And then the other one, this is going to go into and sit into the rear brake housing right there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to feed the new inner cable, and you can hopefully see down in there that opening is pretty obvious, right? So I'm going to carefully feed the cable through that opening, and then pull it all the way through, and then put the housing on. So I've started to feed that in, got that through the hole there, being careful not to let that kind of that barrel pop out. If it does, it's easy to pop in. That happened on the other bike. And then, you know, the hardest thing, the thing that you want to be most careful about is trying not to fray that cable end, because if that frays and starts to unwind, it's kind of a major pain in the butt. One area not to take shortcuts on is your cable cutters. These are part cable cutters. You know, you can do it maybe with diagonal pliers or with dikes, but man, it's going to be a lot harder, especially for the compressionless cable housing. So I highly recommend this, and this is an investment. You buy one of these and it lasts you forever. And if you're going to take on these types of modifications and repairs, it'll pay for itself really the first time you use it. One other tip is to make sure that you, once you have cut the cable, that you kind of remount that inner using an awl or a very small, or a nail, or a very small hex key wrench. And again, I apologize for the quality. This is kind of an impromptu video, but I'm so excited about the improvement in braking power. And then so basically you're going to take your awl, try not to stab yourself in the finger like I did earlier. They're quite sharp. So both cable ends, I'm just going to kind of like remount that inner cable. That's going to help that, or the cable sleeve, that's going to help that inner cable slide through without unraveling or getting caught. Okay, so this is obviously the end near the handlebar. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to put the inline adjuster back on, and we're going to use this cable end with the thin opening, because that's the one that fits into the cable adjuster. Hopefully you can see this. So I'm going to fit that on there. So just to give you an idea of this assembly, you've got this is the stock cable that goes from the shifter under the bar tape and ends here. And then this is the barrel adjuster, the inline barrel adjuster that was already there. And then this is the new fitting from Jagwire here. And then that's all gonna feed in there. And then we'll continue the assembly further down the line. Okay, so I've got the line, hopefully the light's not great, but I've got the line with the cable housing fed back through the port in the frame and then pushed down through underneath the bottom bracket. And here's what that looks like. Now I'm gonna feed it into the clips. There's a clip here and a clip here, and then back into the brake. Put the other cable end on, and again, that's this one. That's gonna fit in there like that. And then tighten everything up. I haven't tightened the cable yet there, so that's just kind of sitting in there. Same thing up here, this is a little bit loose, but as I pull the cable taut and tighten it, everything will get seated there. Okay, so I'm gonna squeeze the brake lever 10 or 15 times. That'll take any slack out or any kinks, so that it already feels pretty good, but just to make sure that everything is seated properly. Then I'll retighten the cable end and test it. Okay, so I got everything buttoned up. I've got a cable end. I made no other adjustments to the brake. You can see that pop pointed power sleeve is in there. All the clips are back on. Barrel adjuster's back in place. I haven't touched anything else as far as brake adjustments. So let's give it a test. There you go. That would not have been possible before this change, and I changed nothing else about the brakes. That's truly a clean test. Okay, I mentioned there was a second upgrade I wanted to talk about. This is the discretionary one, and this one involves the front chainring. The stock chainring is a 38 tooth, and in preparation for climbing, again, we're training for Rebecca's Private Idaho, which has got a ton of climbing. And so we're beginning to incorporate more and more climbing into our training rides. So last weekend I switched to 34 tooth chain rings from Race Face. Had to take 2 links out of the chain because in the smallest gear this was just flopping, and it works flawlessly. Again, a very easy swap over, 10 minutes, 15 minutes including the chain, and noticeably better lower climbing gears. And really, so far we haven't noticed a loss of top end speed as far as pedaling, although obviously there is one. And then the other nice benefit is this stock Redwood chainring weighs 185 grams, and this Race Face weighs 40 grams. So by changing these chain rings, in addition to getting that climbing gear, it makes up for the weight gain that we experienced by installing dropper posts. That's a win-win-win for me. So anyway, again, impromptu video. Quality's not great, setting's not great, but I thought you'd like to hear about these upgrades, especially the brakes. I'm really stoked about that. So anyway, any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll leave part numbers for all of the stuff that I've used today in the description. Thanks. Talk to you later.